You've seen flies your entire life. On your window, on your food, circling a light, landing on your arm and lifting off before you can move. Thousands of them, tens of thousands. And yet, you have never once in your life seen a baby fly. Think about that for a second. Every fly you have ever seen has been the same size, fully formed, fully grown. There is no small version. There is no half-sized fly learning to fly. You don't see fly toddlers on the windowsill. You don't see a nest of tiny flies somewhere getting bigger. It is the same with houseflies, with mosquitoes, with the beetles on your porch, with the ants on your kitchen counter. You only ever see adults. So, where are the babies? Where do all of these insects actually come from? This is not a trick question, and the answer is not, you just haven't noticed. The answer is that the early life of nearly every insect you have ever encountered is happening in places specifically hidden from you. And once you understand where and why, you will never look at the insects around you the same way again. Welcome to Insect Whisper. Subscribe before you leave, because what you're about to learn will change the way you think about every insect you've seen without ever seeing it grow up. Today, we're going into where baby insects actually are, what they actually look like, and why evolution has gone to such lengths to keep that stage of life out of your sight. Stay until the end, because the last thing we cover involves something that happens inside the body of a developing insect that researchers describe as one of the strangest processes in all of biology. And it raises a question about identity that does not have a comfortable answer. Let's start with the core of the mystery, because the reason you've never seen a baby fly is not that they're rare. It's that you've almost certainly seen thousands of them and did not recognize what you were looking at. A baby fly does not look like a fly. It looks like a maggot. That is the whole answer to the first part of this question, and it is worth sitting with, because it overturns an assumption almost everyone carries without examining it. We assume baby animals are smaller versions of the adult. A puppy looks like a small dog. A chick looks like a small chicken. A human infant is recognizably human. So our brains expect a baby fly to be a small fly. But insects do not work that way, and the housefly is one of the clearest examples on Earth. The housefly's life has 4 completely separate stages: egg, larva, pupa, adult. And the creature is so different at each stage that if you did not already know they were the same animal, you would never guess it. The larva, the maggot, is a pale, legless, eyeless, soft-bodied feeding machine. It has no wings. It has no recognizable head. It does one thing. It eats, constantly, and grows. The adult fly is a hard-bodied, winged, 6-legged animal with enormous compound eyes and complex behavior. Same species, same individual even. They share not a single feature you would recognize. This is called complete metamorphosis, and it is not some rare quirk. It is the dominant life strategy of insects on this planet. Beetles, flies, butterflies, moths, ants, bees, wasps. All of them go through it. Scientists estimate that around 65 to 85% of all known animal species are insects that develop through complete metamorphosis. The smaller version of the adult model that your brain expects is, statistically, the unusual one. The maggot is the rule. So the reason you've never seen a baby fly is that you were looking for the wrong thing. You were scanning for a tiny fly. The baby was right there the whole time, and it was a shape your brain refused to file under the word fly. But that only answers what the baby looks like. It doesn't answer where it is. And that's the second part of this, because the location is not an accident either. Adult flies do not lay their eggs randomly. A female housefly is searching with real precision for one specific thing: a concealed, moist, rotting food source that her offspring can eat the moment they hatch. Decaying meat, animal waste, spoiled food, garbage, compost, a dead animal under a deck, the inside of a trash can. These are not pleasant places, and that is exactly the point. They are rich in nutrients, and critically, they are hidden, tucked into cracks, buried in material, sealed away from open view. The larva that hatches there has no need to travel and no ability to. It is born already inside its food supply, surrounded on all sides by everything it needs. It eats its way through that material in darkness, growing rapidly, molting as it goes. A housefly can go from egg to fully grown larva in as little as 4 to 7 days in warm conditions. That entire phase of life, the feeding, the growing, the part you would actually call childhood, happens sealed inside rotting material you would never choose to look inside. And this is where the second layer of the answer comes into focus. The concealment is not just convenient, it is protective. A soft, legless, eyeless larva is one of the most defenseless objects in nature. It cannot run, it cannot fly, it cannot fight, it cannot even see a predator approaching. If baby flies developed in the open, on your windowsill, on a leaf, on the ground, they would be consumed almost instantly by birds, by beetles, by ants, by anything looking for an easy, protein-rich meal. The hidden, buried, rotting nursery is the only thing keeping that vulnerable stage alive. Evolution did not hide baby insects from you as a side effect. It hid them from everything. You are simply included in everything. So the dying happens out of sight, and the growing happens out of sight too, for the exact same reason. Because the open is where defenseless things get eaten. Now here is the third part, and this is the one that gets genuinely strange. When the larva has eaten enough, it stops. It finds an even more sheltered spot, often crawling away from the food source entirely, and its outer skin hardens into a tough, dark, capsule-like case. This is the pupa. From the outside, a fly pupa looks completely inert, a small brown lozenge, motionless, apparently dead. Nothing seems to be happening. What is actually happening inside is one of the most extreme transformations in all of biology. The larva does not simply sprout wings and legs. Inside that sealed case, large portions of the larval body break down. The tissue is partially dismantled. Biologists describe the interior, at certain points, as something close to a thick organic soup. And from that, guided by small clusters of cells that were carried inside the larva from the very beginning, an entirely new body is constructed. Wings, legs, compound eyes, the hard adult shell, the reproductive system, assembled, in the dark, inside a case the size of a grain of rice. The animal essentially takes itself apart and rebuilds itself into a different creature. And here is the detail that researchers find most difficult to explain. After all of that, after the body has been broken down and rebuilt, some memories survive. In carefully controlled studies, researchers trained caterpillars to avoid a specific odor by pairing that odor with a mild electric shock. The caterpillars learned the association. Then those caterpillars pupated, dissolved much of their bodies, and emerged as moths. And the moths still avoided the odor. The lesson learned by the larva had somehow persisted through a process that took apart and rebuilt the very brain that learned it. Sit with what that means. The maggot in the garbage and the fly on your window are not just the same species. They are, in a way that is genuinely hard to define, the same individual, carrying a thread of memory across a transformation so total that the two creatures share almost no physical parts. We do not have a clean word for that. It is not birth. It is not growing up. It is something we don't have language for, and it is happening constantly in the hidden spaces all around you. So here is what you should take from all of this. The reason you've never seen a baby fly is not a gap in your attention. It is the result of a life strategy refined over hundreds of millions of years. The young of nearly every insect you encounter look nothing like the adult, so your brain never files them as babies. They develop inside concealed, rotting, sheltered material because the open is lethal to something that defenseless. And the transformation from one form to the other happens sealed away inside a case, in a process so radical that calling it growing up badly understates it. The insects in your home and your yard did not appear from nowhere. Every single one of them had a childhood. It happened in the soil, in the walls, in the drain, in the compost, in the forgotten damp corner, close to you, all around you, and entirely out of view. You share your space with the full life cycle of dozens of species. You only ever see the final chapter. The next time a fly lands in front of you, you'll know that it was once something you would never have recognized, in a place you would never have looked, and that it rebuilt itself from the inside out to become the thing now sitting in front of you. Tell me in the comments, had you ever stopped to wonder where baby flies were? And have you ever found insect larvae somewhere in your home that caught you off guard? I want to hear where. I read every comment. I'll see you in the next one.